welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're jumping into something really fascinating.
Right.
New study using ancient DNA to look at the rise and fall of the classic Maya.
That's right. The classic Maya, we're talking roughly 250 to 900 CE.
An incredible civilization. Towering cities, complex writing, astronomy, all across Mesoamerica.
Yeah, parts of Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, Honduras, El Salvador, really sophisticated stuff.
But there's always been this big question mark over their decline,
Yeah.
what actually happened.
Exactly. Drought, war, internal problems. It's been debated for ages. This research, though, it offers a totally different angle, right down to the genes.
And that's a big deal in itself, isn't it, getting ancient DNA from tropical places like that?
Oh, absolutely. It's notoriously hard. The heat, the humidity, they just destroy DNA so quickly.
Oh.
So the fact that this team managed to recover any usable genomes is, well, it's a major breakthrough.
Okay, so they managed this difficult task. What were they hoping to find out? What was the main goal?
Well, the big idea was to use this genetic data to understand the Maya people themselves on a deeper level.
Like, where did they come from originally?
Yeah, their origins, how their population changed over time, grew, maybe shrank. And crucially, could these demographic shifts you see in the DNA, could they link up with the big historical changes?
The rise, the cities flourishing, and then that later decline.
Precisely. Could the genes give us new clues about those major societal shifts?
Right. Okay, so let's get into the source. This new study, where was it published?
It's in the journal Current Biology. And like we said, the researchers did manage to pull usable genomes from 7 ancient individuals.
7. From the classic period itself. That sounds impressive for that region.
It really is. And they're specifically from the ancient city of Copán in Honduras.
Ah, Copán, a major site.
Definitely. And these individuals lived right during the height of the classic period. So it's a snapshot from when the city was thriving.
And didn't the source mention one burial in particular, burial 36-2000? Is that quite important?
Oh, yeah. Burial 36-2000 is kind of a star player here. It perfectly links the archaeology and the genetics.
How so?
Archaeologically, it's huge. One of the biggest, most important burials found outside Copán's main acropolis in, like, a century.
Wow. Okay. What was inside?
They found the fragmented remains of an adult, but the tomb itself had a vaulted ceiling.
Which is significant.
Yeah, that's often a marker for Maya royalty, but the real clincher: 2 enormous jade pectorals.
Jade pectorals, like chess pieces.
Exactly, and a massive ones, 20 centimeters, 24 centimeters across, carved with symbols of political and military authority. Really high status.
Okay, so vaulted tomb, location, these incredible jade pieces.
Yeah, the interpretation is pretty clear. This was almost certainly a dynastic ruler of Copán, probably from the 5th century.
And one of the genomes in the study came from this individual.
That's right, known as CPM13. It's incredibly powerful, connecting the genetic data directly to someone who was clearly a major figure in Copán's history.
It really grounds the science, doesn't it? Not just abstract data, but potentially the DNA of a king.
Exactly.
All right, so they have these precious genomes. What did the DNA actually reveal about the population?
Well, first off, it confirmed what many suspected a really deep local ancestry. Meaning they could trace the genetic lineage of these Copán individuals way back, thousands of years, to the late Archaic period in that region.
So the foundation of the population was local and had been there for a very long time.
Correct. A strong, continuous presence predating the big cities.
Okay, that makes sense.
But
But was there anything surprising, anything unexpected in the genes?
This is where it gets really interesting. As Copán grew and flourished during the Classic period, the DNA started showing something new.
What was that?
Clear genetic signals coming in from outside the Maya region, specifically from Highland Mexico.
Highland Mexico. That's quite a long way from Copán in Honduras, isn't it?
It is a significant distance, and this finding is huge.
Why is it so significant? What does it suggest?
Well, it suggests that the rise of these classic Maya states wasn't just about internal development or local interactions. There seems to have been significant cultural and population exchange happening over long distances. It implies that gene flow, actual people moving from places like Highland Mexico, played a role in forming the classic Maya state as we know it.
So not just trading goods or ideas, but actual migration. People moving and integrating into Maya society at its peak.
That's what the genetic signal strongly suggests. It adds a whole new dimension to how we picture the formation of these complex societies.
That really does change the picture. What about the other end of the story, the decline phase? Did the DNA show anything there?
Yes, it did. The genetic data also pointed towards a noticeable population decline.
Wait.
During the later period, the time generally associated with the widespread societal changes, often called the collapse.
So the genetics seem to mirror what some archaeological evidence suggests for that period, a demographic downturn.
Exactly. The DNA provides direct biological evidence supporting that trend, at least in the Copán samples.
Okay, so we have deep local roots, then this surprising influx from highland Mexico during the peak, and finally evidence of population decline later on. What does having this genetic layer allow researchers to do now?
It's about connection. It lets them directly link these demographic changes, who is moving, when populations grew or shrank, to the broader historical context.
So, tying the genetic story to things we know from archaeology, like baiting booms or political alliances or maybe environmental stress.
Precisely. You can start asking questions like, did the genetic influx from Mexico coincide with specific political events or major construction phases in Copán?
Or did the population decline seen in the DNA correlate with known periods of drought or increased warfare?
Exactly. It allows for a much more integrated understanding. You're adding the biological, the human dimension, directly into the historical narrative built from artifacts, monuments, and environmental data.
It feels like adding a crucial missing piece of the puzzle.
It really is, and it's valuable beyond just the Maya world, too. This kind of interdisciplinary work, ancient DNA plus archaeology, anthropology, it informs our broader understanding of human diversity, migration, and how societies adapt and change over vast timescales.
Thinking about that broader picture, does this ancient story have any resonance for us today? Any lessons, maybe?
I think so, definitely. We're living in a time where climate change and environmental pressures are major global concerns. So studying how past complex societies responded to environmental stress, whether they adapted, showed resilience, or faced collapse, is incredibly relevant.
And the classic Maya collapse is often held up as a kind of case study for that, isn't it? Though the reality is complex.
It is complex, absolutely. But it remains a compelling example of major societal transformation, potentially linked to environmental factors, among other things.
So adding this DNA evidence helps refine that picture.
Yes. By revealing the human population dynamics within that context, showing migration, genetic shifts, population decline, it helps us move past simplistic cause and effect ideas.
It shows how environmental pressures might interact with social factors, political situations, and population movements.
Exactly. Understanding that interplay from the past could offer valuable perspectives as we face our own environmental and societal challenges.
So where does the research go next? What are the next steps for this team?
They're definitely planning to expand this work. The goal is more ancient DNA samples.
More individuals.
Yes, but crucially from different classic Maya sites across the whole region, not just Copán.
So to see if these patterns, like the Highland Mexico connection or the population decline, were widespread, or were they specific to Copán?
Precisely. A broader geographic and time sampling will build a much more detailed, nuanced map of population movements and interactions throughout the classic Maya world.
Makes sense.
And they really stress the need for integration, always combining the genetics with all the archaeological and paleo-environmental data we have.
Pulling all those threads together, the genes, the artifacts, the climate records.
That's the way forward. It's how we'll get the most complete picture of how all these factors, social, political, environmental, demographic, work together in the rise and transformation of this incredible civilization.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something to think about. These echoes from the past, revealed in the DNA, ancient migrations, responses to environmental change. Maybe they offer unexpected ways to think about the movements of people and the challenges societies face, even in our own world today.